so the Iraqi army, they didn't really have medics. They didn't, because you don't have time to really train up qualified medics. But if everybody just pitches in a little bit, you can have these massive impacts, right? If everybody just boils their own pot of water, you can boil the ocean, or pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's definitely our mindset is, one of the struggles we have, one of the struggles I have at my organization is, I'll call it recruiting. We have lots of people who want to come with us to these conflict zones and things. The problem is a lot of guys, their thought process is like, oh, I want to go get my gun on, I want to go fight bad guys and things like that. And they're looking for action, not necessarily to help. They're looking for action, and that's not going to fly. Like with what we're doing, we're not chasing the action. We end up in situations that do have action, but that's 1% of the time. The other 99% of the time, it's logistics and training and fixing vehicles and trying to figure out the communication bit and travel, and that's the actual job. And then there's that 1% of the time where things go haywire, and you got to have guys that aren't trying to chase that, because then they're not happy doing the rest of the thing.
You need people who are about that life, not that moment. That's
a great way to put it. That is a great way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can use that.
Yeah, I'm going to use it. Yeah. Don't tell anybody. I'm going to use it. Let me tell you what I came up with, man.
No, I want to hear all about this. But you didn't. You're there. Whatever it is, 4 helicopter rides away from where Burma is. But you're just doing training stuff.
Yeah.
And then that period, 6 months or so.
6 weeks.
6 weeks.
6 weeks specifically in Thailand. But 6 months of a deployment. We went to multiple countries.
Okay, so that deployment ends. You come back to the U.S. You didn't leave the SEALs though right away, right? It's just kind of a planted seed in your head at the moment?
I still have a few. So when I got back from that deployment, would have been late 2016, and then my term of service is up in early 2017. So I have roughly like 6 months, 6 or 7 months left in the military to kind of make a decision. I actually looked at staying a little bit longer. Just for like 2 years. I looked at several different sort of postings, sort of, we call it shore duty, so non-combat postings, to maybe like knock out a degree or kind of figure out what I wanted to do next. But nothing really stuck with me that I really wanted to do. And so at the time, ISIS was obviously a big thing at the time, and people were trying to fight back against ISIS, and there were American volunteers, going over there to fight ISIS. And I thought, well, I'm not trying to go fight ISIS, but I was like, there's these civilians that are caught in the middle of this. Maybe I can go do some humanitarian work. And so I was still I decided I wasn't going to stay in the military anymore. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew in my head, I was like, I want to start a company or an organization or whatever, so that so I can hire guys with my background to go and help these people who will never be able to pay us. Because okay, so for example, the work that I do overseas, at the level that I do it, if a regular like Western power, like a stable country, if they were to pay me to come in and do the same kind of thing, let's say they were like, hey, we want you to come in and like go after terrorists or narcos or whatever else, right? They would have to pay me, like, just me personally, like you'd have to pay me $2,000 a day just to come in and do this, so. Like we're providing a very high level of service, and it's a lot of that is just because of the risk of the level of stuff that we do, right? But I was like, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to do that. I want to go help people who don't have anything. They barely have enough rice to eat, and or they don't have any food at all. Like they have nothing. Those are the people I want to go help.
What are you, like 25, 26 now?
I was 24 technically.
Okay.
So 24. So I was still technically in the military. I took leave. I had 60 days of leave saved up. And so my last day in the military, I technically wasn't on leave, but it was a Saturday. So I was like, they're not going to call me on a Saturday. So I just risked it, bought a one-way ticket to Iraq, met up with, some other American volunteers there. And so ended up working with them for like my first like 6 or 7 weeks in Iraq. Yeah.
This is 2017.
2017.
You got a one-way ticket to Iraq.
One-way ticket to Iraq.
Maybe I haven't checked the Iraqi vacation logs recently, but like, is that a thing?
Yeah. No, so it's
I go?
You could probably, even today, and at the time, you could fly into northern Iraq. You could fly into Erbil, sort of Kurdistan controlled areas. Yeah.
I'm not going to do that, but
no need. But
good to know.
Yeah, you can do that. So I flew over there, and I mean, there's other aid workers and stuff going over there too. So to me, it seemed like this very sort of crazy thing. But when you got on the ground there was like other people there too, and there were other people there that were, volunteering in different ways. So I met up with another group of Americans, and they were doing basically humanitarian work and then like some medical support for some of the Iraqi army who were clearing Mosul. So the Iraqi army, they didn't really have medics. They didn't, because you don't have time to really train up qualified medics when ISIS popped off. And so, long story short, we end up embedded with a Iraqi army armored unit, which was clearing the areas around Mosul, so like the plains of Nineveh, taking these little villages back from ISIS.
Ephraim, can I cut you off for 1 second?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we have the background here so that people can more even appreciate what you mean when you go through your personal story with it. But like the Battle of Mosul in 2016 and 2017 is one of the largest military operations in modern history. And I feel like a lot of people like don't really know a lot of the details or what's going on. So you are getting there when this is well underway. This is an operation that includes the United States, Iraq, I believe other Western countries as well. I'm not going to name them because I don't remember exactly who. But like what was the obviously ISIS had held Mosul. It's one of the 2 or 3 most important strategic places in Iraq. The objective obviously is to get ISIS the hell out of there, but how did it go down? Like who was the Iraqi army in the lead, or was the US telling them what to do? What was the cadence there?
Awesome. Yeah. So just a couple historical facts about Mosul. So Mosul is the place where al-Baghdadi got up in this giant mosque. I forget the name of the mosque, but it had a leaning tower. It was like this giant leaning tower. He got up there, and that's where he proclaimed the existence of the caliphate. So that was, for lack of a better term, like that's where they signed their version of the Declaration of Independence. Like we're our own independent country, right? The terrorist Declaration of Independence.
Allahu Akbar.
So yeah, exactly. Allahu Akbar. So that was right there in Mosul, in a place called the Old City of Mosul. So when you look at Mosul on a map, the Tigris River cuts the city in half, and then it cuts the city from the east side and the west side. So when I got to Mosul, the east side of Mosul had been cleared from ISIS. And so basically what ISIS did was they blew all the bridges across the river, and so they congregated all of their force and all of their strength in West Mosul. Which is where like the stadium was, where they were doing like the mass beheadings and the executions and things like that. And it's also just around the corner from the mosque where they had declared the beginning of the caliphate. So when I got
by
there,
the way, Alessi has the. I just want to make sure for people out there following what you're saying, he has the map up of what you're describing. So
perfect.
They'd cleared everything east of.
Yeah. So Alessi, can you zoom in here? Maybe make you keep zooming in. Yeah, right about there is good. Probably go back a little bit. So you can see the Tigris River cuts it basically north to south. So the east side of Mosul had been cleared there, and then the west side of Mosul now just has this massive concentration of ISIS fighters. And then on the west side there of Mosul, the Iraqi army had started pushing already from the south to the north, and they had taken, I'm going to say, roughly half of the west side, right? So all of ISIS at this point in history, or at least the forces in Mosul, the ISIS forces in Mosul, they're all concentrated in sort of the last literally quarter of the city, the upper left-hand corner there, the northwestern part. So the Iraqi army unit that we were working with, they were an armored unit. And so, Combat 101, don't send your armor into congested cities, because unless you are completely surrounded by infantry who have cleared everything else out around there.
What's the cost of this, though? By the way, because you just described that. Basically, I'm going to round the numbers here. This isn't exactly accurate, but like 75% of it is now they're down into 25% of it because then they're on the upper west corner.
Yep.
But like the 75% that's been taken. ISIS was hiding civilians among them and everything. Obviously, it's a war zone, but like, is it just leveled?
So on the east side, and we could actually see this when we went into West Mosul, we could see the east side. Obviously, there's a lot of destruction and a lot of crazy stuff has happened there. It wasn't quite leveled. That's very different than West Mosul. West Mosul would be leveled. Every building basically was just like blown to rubble. So when we went into West Mosul, there were cars driving around on the east side, You could see people at restaurants. You could see lights on. They're driving around, living a semi-normal life. It's not normal, but and then right across the river is ISIS, and the stronghold of ISIS, and there's no power. It's just blacked out cityscape.
It's like North and South Korea from the sky.
Yeah, kind of, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So I guarantee if you had taken photos of it at that time, the right side is all lit up, lots of lights, generators, power. West side, total blackout. So the Iraqi army unit we were with was an armored unit, and they were charged. Their mission was to clear all these small little villages, sort of on the outskirts of Mosul. It's just sort of flat, open plains. It's the plains of Nineveh. And so that was kind of our job. And so they go liberate a small town. Villagers, or not villagers, but Iraqi civilians would come out of those areas. We'd give them, food, medicine, and take care of them and sort of send them off toward refugee camps. Nothing super crazy.
For watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.